The Scottish Traveller community is demanding an apology from the Scottish Government over claims of historical mistreatment dating back to the 1940s. The Tinker experiment saw families torn apart and placed in inadequate housing, a scheme supported by the UK Government and Scottish local authorities. Our Scotland correspondent James Matthews has the story.
They were the subjects of the so-called Tinker experiment. They call it eugenics, social engineering over decades that separated families and ruined lives.
I was born in an experiment and had no say in the matter.
In a clearing in a Perthshire forest is the Gypsy Traveller community Shamus McPhee was born into 50 years ago. Then it was one location of many for the Tinker experiment. Primitive huts, seen here after they were occupied, built to encourage Gypsy travellers away from a nomadic existence and towards settled society, but all executed with sinister intent, according to Shamus.
To demolish and eradicate Gypsy culture and to effect a form of cultural genocide. And it was part of a punitive series of measures, a drive against or series of purges against Gypsy travellers with a view to making them conform.
The Tinker experiment led to some families being broken up. If a family outgrew the accommodation it was given, children could be taken into care.
The damage is done, it won't be repaired.
Teresa was one of those children. Even before she and her twin brother were born, they were earmarked for removal from the family home. Her brother died in middle age, an alcoholic. Teresa blames a lifelong trauma rooted in his childhood experience.
It had a terrible impact on his life. He's the one that suffered the most because he couldn't cope with it.
There were several thousand people involved in the so-called Tinker experiments, which lasted over many years. In recent years, those involved have sought a formal apology from the Scottish Government, which hasn't been forthcoming. A spokesperson said, "We accept the lives of many Gypsy travellers have been blighted by historical policies and practices of councils and charities, and we absolutely recognise the devastating and lasting impact this had. We must now focus on working together to deliver the actions to address the inequality and injustice that this community continues to face." It's a government's stated intention to get things right, if not the apology sought for an experiment gone wrong. James Matthews, Sky News in Perthshire.